Welcome back to Strength Cultures Podcast, number one in the hearts, number one in the charts. We are back with another episode. Today, we're going to continue the semantics on training volume. We're going to define it.
I love semantics. I think just the phrase, we're getting into semantics, I used to see it as like a negative. Now I'm like, let's do it. Let's get in there. Like
it has to.
You need to get in there.
I'm a big semantics fan. I always have been. Because you can't have a deep conversation until you're fucking on the same page.
It's true.
Otherwise, it just turns out to contradictions and people don't understand. And young coaches get confused. Not that all of our listeners are young coaches, but people who are new to it, they read one thing about volume.
Young coaches, trainees.
Yeah, exactly. People that are new to it, that haven't got a formalized idea for themselves, they read one thing or watch one piece of content and this person's talking about volume in this context or within this definition, and they go and watch some other thing and they're talking about volume in a completely different context. They're both true, but they sound contradictive and it confuses people. And so I'm a big fan. Let's get into the semantics. James George, volume.
Volume, yes. I think we're going first. Like,
I think we have to
this
define
is what we're doing.
What is training volume?
All right.
Well, where's the confusion of volume? Like what?
Yeah, so that's where I wanted to go with it. I think a lot of people surround it around just doing more reps. Like,
very common one.
Yeah, huge one. I want more volume on my program.
More reps in like a set or like total reps across
higher
a session?
reps.
No, just
higher
higher
rep
reps.
sets.
Yeah. And then they think that, yes, I'm doing higher reps, therefore equals to more total volume. Where if we loop back to what volume is, it's total amount of work that you're doing. So that includes your sets, your reps, and the weight on the bar. Like, it's not a case of I'm just going to do higher reps here, therefore I'm doing more volume.
Or like I was doing 3 sets of 5, now I'm doing 3 sets of 12. I've moved to high volume training. It's like, not really. You're still doing 3 sets. It's a different intensity, but it's still 3 sets.
Yeah, like and I think for a lot of people doing a more, or they're wanting to do more work, they go about it in the right way of looking to, I guess, progressive overload or add more to their training, but they overlook, your training intensity. They overlook, number of sets that they're doing, where those are easy, low-hanging fruit to address first before you just add more
easier
reps or whatever.
variables to play around with.
Yeah.
Well, I think the problem with looking at it through a rep lens is you eventually get to total tonnage. So total tonnage would be calculated by simply multiplying all of those things, your sets. So I did 3 sets of 10 at 100 kilos equals 3,000 kilograms of tonnage. Which I think used to be more of a push of the volume idea, was like you track your total tonnage and you look to progress your total tonnage.
And that was your way of assessing how much work you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. But the problem where that falls apart really quickly is as soon as you change an exercise, the tonnage becomes, it's no longer contextualized to what you're doing. So you might go from one block doing flat bench press, but then you go to a 3-count pause, your total tonnage falls through the floor, like it just drops completely because maybe you're 30% less load or 20%.
But you're not really doing less work. Like, you're probably doing a very similar amount of work, provided that the amount of sets is equated and the intensity is equated.
Yeah, which is why using like tonnage-based metrics, we don't believe is a. I think it's just tracking data for the sake of tracking data.
You can also just flip it as like 3x10 or 10x3. Two
Completely
very
changes.
different stimuluses, but they're the same tonnage.
We've still done exactly,
But they're completely different.
Yeah, so the tonnage metric is kind of just like data for data's sake. Unless things are like really constant and really static, but even still, like you see the progression of simply watching your reps go up or watching your weight go up over time.
I feel like people like your Greg Knuckles, Mark the shit, they'll track tonnage, but that's just because they love data. And that's just who they are and what they are. But it's just... And again, they are the type of people that would know to just like fully... They track it because they like to track the data, but they're also not attached to the data. They're just watching trends and whatever, and they'll be comparing it against this and that. And
just the data with the necessary context to make it useful, not just data and like, cool, we're just going to roll with that.
But a person doesn't, I just like none of us need to track tonnage.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing where tonnage falls apart is if you go down, let's just say like 20% in load, you can like double the amount of reps you're doing, which would double your total tonnage, or maybe like add like 25, 50% of total tonnage. And it's just like, Yeah, but we've completely moved away from failure. We've completely moved away from like the key things of volume. So I think that is definitely one area where confusion around volume comes in for sure. How do we frame tonnage then? Oh, sorry, not tonnage. How do we frame volume then to clients? Like where do we start?
Hard sets per week.
Hard sets.
Hard sets. Yeah. Why hard sets?
That's what matters.
Yeah.
That's what we're striving towards in the gym. Like
They're the stimulative
Training
sets.
is hard sets.
Yeah.
If you're not doing hard sets, you're not really training.
So what is a hard set?
Well, the definition is, what's your definition? It's
of a hard set, something that is proximity to failure.
Yeah.
5 to 6 RP and above.
Yeah. Probably 6 and above. Yeah. Yeah.
Somewhere in that
I
bracket.
think science says 6. I think in application though, you probably 6 is a bare minimum because 5s and 6s, like most people aren't that aware of failure or that contextualized to failure.
I think the issue that can come with RPEs on that lower end, closer to the 5 to 6, is that, as Jamie's kind of getting at there, the closer you are to failure, the easier it is to assess how close to failure you actually are. Like if you do an RPE 9, you know you're working hard. Like no one hits an RPE 9 and is like, oh yeah, that was
a 4.
I've got 4 reps in the tank. Whereas at a 5 to 6, it becomes more vague. And that's not necessarily a problem, but if all your training's done down there, or a lot of your training is done down there, it's harder to know if you're actually working hard enough. So, floating up a little bit just gives you that certainty that, yes, this is actually stimulative. I'm not accidentally hitting RPE 3s all week and then wondering why I'm not getting productive training in.
Yeah. So the conversation then about like managing volume, coming back to you, James George.
Let's do it.
In terms of like managing volume, if you've got a client who says like, hey, I'm looking to do or I've heard higher volume can be more stimulative, or higher volume for hypertrophy, or insert any sort of narrative around adjusting a training variable. What are some of the things you're considering when making the decision to either increase or decrease the amount of total sets they're doing?
Well, first I want to understand what they mean by total volume.
Yep.
Because like
Get into the
absolutely
semantics.
get into the semantics. Absolutely. They could be just referring to I just want to do more reps on these certain exercises.
And that's fine if they want to do that, but like that's why it's always important to know what the person actually wants, so you give them what they're after.
Yeah, 100%. But I think, if we cover those bases, what I'm considering for someone is just like how much time they got across their week, what their training history has been like in the last probably couple of months, like how often they've been in the gym, what their current training program is like, are they making progress? If they're ticking those boxes, then we can just continue rolling with something that's very similar with what they've got. If they're not making progress, I would probably have a look at their overall training intensity. Like when I get them in and I see them training, or over a couple of weeks, I have a look at their program, just see, how hard they're hitting their training. If I think that there's room that we could be pushing the training a bit more, which is more often than not that's the case, then I've lost my train of thought. But that is something that I would look for in their training.
So just to recap, you're looking at adherence first. Like, are they consistent? Are they ticking all of those boxes? And then after that, is the training that they're currently doing hard enough?
Absolutely, yeah. So adherence is the current training that they're doing hard enough. There's nothing wrong with still doing something that is higher in volume, like in your program. You can still make progress across both spectrums of training. And that's also fun in doing more, but also doing less, like having a bit of variability in your training. I think that with a lot of people, at least with a lot of the people that I've worked with that have come from a place of struggle to progress, maybe not as consistent in the gym, just overall pretty discouraged with their training. I like to take a more conservative approach to their training. So I won't have them doing the pretty common like 4 or 5 set approach to everything that they're doing. I'll have them doing probably 3 at most sets, and I'll be looking to just push their training hard in terms of intensity overall, and then just kind of guide them and support them along the way of reassuring them like, hey, we did this approach before, let's try this. Nothing ever bad came from just being a bit more conservative in just training. If anything, that just highlights to you that there's more room to be able to move into.
Yeah, you've got room to move towards.
Yeah, and I think the snowball effect from that is more significant than hitting your head face first into the wall of just doing something that's a higher volume approach, but not being able to, not having the capacity to do so.
And this goes for all like program decisions. The outcome actually comes from what gets done. You can put whatever you want on the piece of paper, or on the app. We don't really use paper, but whatever goes in is theoretically
notebook.
The notebook. Actually, to be fair, I use notebook. Shouts out notebook users. But yeah, it doesn't matter what you put down. What matters is actually gets done. So you can write whatever you want on the program, but if it's actually not being done, especially consistently, then it's not the actual stimulus that's being applied. So you got to be real and meet someone where they're at and work out, okay, what are you actually going to do? What are you actually doing? And then from there, we work out where we might go next. Because that's really all it comes down to.
I think the other thing with like a lower volume, higher intensity sort of strategy is, especially with people that don't, and I know Charlie and you and I have like over the years have changed our approach. Like thinking back like 10 years ago, like we just had so much time to train. We like worked in the gym, so much time, like the whole, everything around our just like identity, who we were as people was just like training. If you had clients who couldn't meet the criteria of them, and it's like, you don't want it bad enough. Like everyone's got the same 24 hours, like all of those like cliches would come out. But as you get older, you start to realize like most people don't really have that much time, but two, they've got more important things, family, career, just hobbies, things outside that are probably going to be a higher priority than most people's, like a young coach's training.
I was thinking about this the other day, and like really outside, obviously there's outliers at any age, but generally speaking, outside of that just like niche of young, maybe like teen, early 20s lifter who has a lot of time, full of piss and vinegar, who wants to get after it, which is mad. Outside of that niche, most of what we do as coaches is helping people manage their training around their life. Like it's not about just putting something on a piece of paper and giving to them and saying good luck. It's okay, here's the program I gave you. Oh, okay, we've got some obstacles here. How do we navigate? Like that's what we do every week. Like with everyone.
That is coaching.
That's coaching. It's making the adjustments to tailor the approach to make it work for you where you are right now. Not where you were last week or last year. It's right now what is going to be the approach that enables us to get the most out of you. And that might look different to what you used to do, but that's fine because ultimately it's about staying in the game and keeping at it. And if keeping at it means it's attacking things in a different way, then so be it. Like that's what you're going to need.
And this is where this idea of like lower volume, higher intensity strategies, because it just means you have to do less work. Like if you can push your intensity a little higher, if you can get a higher quality sort of training effect from a smaller amount of work, means you spend less time in the gym, but it also means you've got the option to add more when required and when things stall. And like I think it's definitely my default now when I'm helping clients, but also educating coaches around this stuff is like start on the lower end. Like definitely, like it makes sense like to look in the rearview mirror and be like, that makes so much sense to just like start low and then add. But it is so practical for people to sort of overcome training plateaus or overcome sort of like periods where they haven't made progress, things have stalled for whatever reason. It's like, well, let's strip this back first, rebuild from the foundation being adherence and then also the intensity side of thing. And then you can add volume from there. So a recommendation that we have is generally like for accessories, only starting with like 2. Like if you do your main lifts or whatever they are, but then your accessories, just start with 2 really good high quality sets per movement. And it means that you don't get that feeling of like junk volume where like you do a couple of sets and then you look at your program and you got like 2 more to do and you're like, oh, fuck. Sandbag them, drop the weight, like whatever it needs to be to just get the work done. But it was not even stimulative. We were probably better off just putting more effort into 2 sets. So that would be one recommendation that I would have. And then we just run that algorithm. What was the algorithm? The Greg Knuckles. If you're not making progress, are you training hard enough?
If you're not making progress, are you recovering? Yes. Do more. If you're not recovering, do less. That is
literally it.
That is programming. And it sounds simplistic, but the more and more you just take that, look through that lens, the more answers you get to all the questions you need.
And you just run that algorithm.
And the thing as well is that like, you know, dropping your volume, it's not a life sentence. Like you can have periods where you push higher volume, lower volume. Like if you actually want to make progress over the long term, you're going to train for many years. There can be periods where the volume turns up and turns down. Like it's not that as soon as you reduce your volume, that's it. Progress is gone. You're still just applying a stimulus, and maybe that stimulus, you know, is a greater stimulus at other parts of the year. But that's fine. Like you just got to keep applying it in whatever way is feasible for you right now.
Do you remember when you were like fully pushing powerlifting, Charles, what your total sets kind of were? How was your program structured? When you were doing like peak?
So most of the time I trained 4 days a week.
4 days?
Most of it.
And how was it structured? 2 mains, 2 accessories?
Yeah, I used to just do, day one would be main squat into bench and then 1 or 2 accessories. Day 2 was deadlift, a bench variation, 1 or 2 accessories, and then repeat that again later in the week, but it would be a squat and deadlift variation of some sort.
Yeah. So 2 deadlifts, 2 squats, and 4 benches.
Yeah, that was to start with. By the end, but my strongest ever, that I was only training 3 times a week, deadlifting and squatting once a week.
Yeah.
That was it.
And this is another
benching 3. So yeah, I'd bench every day.
Yeah, but your volume and frequency would have dropped.
Yeah.
Even though you were getting
bench
stronger.
we know bench didn't really go up. I kind of got to 172.5 really quickly, and then it took me like 2 years to get a 2.5 kilo PR, and then my last comp, my bench went back to 172.5.
Yeah.
So bench kind of just stayed there, but I had the issues of that pain, like the stuff that was limiting how hard I could train. But yeah, squat and dead were once a week.
Yeah,
literally probably 3 or 4 sets. That's it.
Yeah. So like from the outside, it would look like low volume, but progress is still being made.
Yeah. And this is what like Brian, I guess this is like Mike Teixeira's reactive training systems. Just watch the athlete. How does the athlete respond? Because what works for one athlete won't work for another person. I remember Mahindu is a good example. His like percentage of his back off sets had to be really low.
Yeah, he couldn't do reps.
Yeah, whereas like females, for example, can do really high percentage of, like a lot of females can do really high percentage of their back off. It's just,
and I think this is where we moved away from some of those, maybe not fully, but a lot. I think that the way we went about things was like you'd have your top set, and then there'd be a percentage back off for your rep work. But then I think we just realized that there's such a variance there from person to person on what percentage is going to be an appropriate number, to where I just started saying, fuck it, we're just going to RPE these back offs, because that allows for the outliers who can do 5 reps at 90%, or the outliers on the other end who are doing 5 reps at 77%. And it just, like, instead of trying to, guess, we just allow them to train hard and see where they end up.
Like, yeah. And then it takes 1 or 2 weeks to sort of work that out.
And then you kind of know.
Yeah. Because like that idea where Charlie's, because like I think the general, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm in a different circle of like the conversations I'm having. I'm mainly speaking to coaches, but I think the general understanding with training volume is that that you want to progress it over time. Like on a chronic time scale, we should be seeing more work done. Like, is that the general?
I'd still say that's the general
sort of belief.
Yeah.
I would say that people take it literally, where it's add more sets, add more reps, add more weight, and they do it like almost linearly.
And you end up with
it goes both ways. There's the belief that over time it needs to go up, but there's also the belief that
you can force it.
Yeah, like even in the short term, like it needs to go up. Like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months.
So I feel like a good case study would be my bench, because I feel like there was 2 ways to get my bench bigger. Well, I plateaued for so long. Was one, go through a really big bulking phase,
hypertrophy,
and like
you got to hit 120 kilos
mass on the delts, the tris, the chest. Get the body weight. I was at 105 to 108. Then I get the body weight up to 110, 111, 112, and really target those muscles. Or potentially try something like a Sean Noriega, bench 5-6 days a week, really high volume. So I feel like they were the 2 options. One, the Sean Noriega method wouldn't have worked for me because of the issues I had with the neck, which I actually think was a detrain. I think I wasn't doing enough or nearly any back training. Is that right? So that's side topic, but had those issues.
Your push to pull ratio was all off, was it?
Well, someone to that push to pull ratio.
Not push to pull, just lack of pull altogether.
There's just no ratio.
There was no
all pull.
5 to 0.
It was 15 to 20 hard sets of bench with maybe 3 sets of back, which is not as you can
afterthought.
Put 2 and 2 together. Anyway, so the Sean Noriega method probably wouldn't have worked for me because you couldn't tolerate. I wouldn't have been able to tolerate and recover, and I would have been in pain. So I would have had to go the other approach, but then I also just didn't want to. I was at that point.
You were past the point.
I was past it. Didn't really want to get heavier. Started running, and now at 10 kilos lighter and on a different path. But for me, that was probably the 2
decisions
ways that you could have got the bench to 180 or beyond.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's probably the only other one would be you just try a significantly lower volume strategy.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
I feel like we did that.
Yeah,
though.
like you go to like two exposures a week and just completely flip the way you're training.
I think we actually were doing that towards the end. I think I was only benching twice a week off memory. So I was that.
Like you have to change something. Yeah. Like there's no point. Like that's.
But whatever I was doing wasn't working at that point. I feel like I'd hit my true strength potential.
Yeah.
Which is the amount of muscle I had. Technical proficiency was sorted. I was very good technically.
But yeah, with the muscle you had, you probably just weren't going to eke out anymore.
The muscles that I had recruited. All the motor units could only produce so much for. Like that was capped.
You need to get bigger
muscles,
which is always going to be one of the. It's basically everyone gets to that.
But that's 5-6 years into training.
Yeah. I do want to go back though. So like I think the general understanding is that volume over time should progress. And if we look at it through this lens of like it's your total amount of sets is the determining factor for how much volume you're doing. What that eventually looks like is you get to these upper thresholds of higher frequencies, where you're doing 3 or 4 exposures of something per week to tolerate that amount of volume and allows the recovery to happen and still keep the sessions as effective as they can be. Or you end up at a point where you're trying to force volume progression by actually adjusting it like proactively, whether it be week to week or every couple of weeks you increase, which is not our style. Our style is very much like fix the variables as much as you can and then just adjust as needed when there's a reason to adjust, rather than kind of like trying to force this adaptation to come forward. But an important thing with Charlie's sort of case study is that as you get stronger, and depending on whoever's listening to this, like you might just be in your first year of training. This doesn't account to you, but you might be in your 10th, 15th year of training, or maybe your 5th or 6th year of powerlifting specifically. But as you get stronger, as your system is able to produce more force, as you become more coordinated and your absolute loads are just significantly higher than where you used to be, there is a strong case to say that you actually need less training volume to continue to make your training effective, because you can just produce so much force in a session. You can create so much sort of like backdraft of a requirement for recovery. And somebody that speaks about this a lot, and I've definitely experienced it with some of my stronger clients over the years. But Seb Ora talks about this a lot because he literally trains the biggest, strongest athletes in the world. And it gets to a point where eventually you actually need to go to like 1 exposure of squatting per week, and there's only 1 heavy one every 2 weeks. Like the volume prescription actually inverts and flips the other way, where it's like we need to do less because this client is so efficient and so strong.
If the initial assumption that volume must always keep going up would be correct, then Hafthor Bjornsson would be deadlifting 3 times a week, but he's just not. Like he's probably
I reckon he's probably deadlifting once a month, to be honest.
He's hitting a single at 400 and then he's
fortnight or something.
Yeah,
but even that's where I was at the end. I was on a 1 a week when I squatted 280. I was on 1 a week squat and probably doing. I actually think at some point I was doing a top set with like 2 back off sets.
And the thing is,
that was it, and I got the strongest.
The Charlie who was squatting 280 was a different human being to the Charlie
that
who was an intermediate powerlifter who first squatted 220 or 230. Yeah. Like, yeah, you're the same person, but like, I mean, it's the same obviously journey, but like you're a different part of your journey, and it's just we're playing a different game at that point. Like, so it's not just this is the point. It's not a case of more volume and then more and then more. It just always need more. Like,
we are talking then about people that are on performance enhancers too. So there's other factors to take into consideration, like how much stress that's having on their nervous system, their tendons, ligaments, all that. You got to play into that, because they could probably tolerate and recover from more, but could their tendons and then
injury risk, and that's always going to be a factor,
which we've seen happen at pro roll before.
Yeah,
like tendons blow out and stuff.
For sure. Yeah.
What was I going to say? Can't remember.
So yeah, like I think, or just going back to like the central point here being volume is like, if you just view volume for the amount of training. And we believe that the best way to track that for strength and hypertrophy is simply just the amount of hard sets. You might be looking at that as hard sets of a body part movement, like chest per week, or a type of movement, a squat or a deadlift or something like that. If you just view volume through that lens, and take a reactive approach to do we need more or do we need less, I think that's a much more productive long-term strategy, rather than holding this belief that total volume needs to increase and progress and continue to move forward, because that's just not the reality. And I think once you start getting into tonnage, that's where that idea eventually ends up. When you start getting into the idea of that volume is this special sort of stimulus for these outcomes, which it's not. It's part of the overall external load. It's part of the overall training program, but it is in consideration with everything else that needs to be considered as well. So they would be like my two, like kind of like not closing thoughts, but like general, like practical ideas.
For sure.
Hard sets per week, track it however you want, and then be reactive in your approach to either increasing it or decreasing it.
And it's important to know, because if you are feeling like you're hitting a wall with your training, and if you truly believe that the only way to make progress is to add more volume, then you may feel like I'm done. I can't do it. I don't have the capacity or the time or the care to do that. But while that might be the solution, it's not the only solution. It's not the only way to progress your training.
Does this conversation apply to endurance work, Charlie? In the endurance world, do they hold that same belief that training volume needs to progress?
I haven't probably digested enough stuff to know. I have seen some marathon programs, though, can vary in weekly running volume from, like 70, 80 Ks per week to 120, 130 K per week. So I'm assuming that would be like similar kind of concept, idea. Again,
like I wonder if the same narratives kind of bleed into other areas.
Do you have the time to train? You know,
yeah, well, then
running
there's all
an extra
those
50K a week. Do you have that time? Then I saw like Alec Blennis, he did his half marathon. He so you got that the 20-80, 20% hard shit, 80% easy, like zone 2 stuff. He did like a 50-50. And his justification, I remember reading that post, was purely from a time standpoint. He could only get 40 to 50 Ks in per week.
Yep.
So he wanted to make them a little bit more
higher intensity.
Yep. So I think I wouldn't have enough to give you it is. You probably need a fucking endurance coach that's actually coached people for.
I would say there are some narratives because that bleed into it because my old man, I'd say he's a very proficient runner for.
He's a monster.
Yeah, just did the Sydney Marathon and he came
that was like
first.
2 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
2 weeks last week.
Yeah,
I saw the crazy running man do it.
It was
2 weeks ago.
It was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. It was recently.
What did he run in?
2:51.
Yeah, right. Jeez,
moving.
Crazy.
Man,
my old man did, I think, 2:55.
I ran 23K on Sunday in 2 hours and 35 minutes. to be the fucking headwind was fucked on. Did you
Saturday?
Sunday.
It
was windy. It was even worse. So from the moment I left Black Rock all the way up to Elwood was literally 11 Ks into a headwind. And at one point you could literally fall into the wind and you wouldn't fall to the ground.
I've played golf in like shocking wind and literally your bag like flies over.
Yeah,
like you got to pick your bag up.
When I turned around and came back, I could actually feel the wind pushing me along.
You were zooming.
Like it was pushing my but I guess
your old man won.
Yeah, he came first in his age group.
He's a proficient runner, man.
He's a proficient runner.
I think that's fair to say.
And I think he's. I've been having more chats around him with his training recently because he also wants to get into strength training and bleed a bit of both of those worlds together.
He's come across.
He's trying to, but he comes from that
enduro world.
Yeah, and also from a different
80s enduro world.
Yeah, where he has the approach where he saw benefits from just doing more and more over time. Pretty much each week, actually, he would just run slightly more than he did last week.
Yep.
And over the last few years, he's found that he just can't do that because he's pretty
gets to a limit.
Yeah, he's pretty much just reached his capacity. Yeah,
to tolerate that much running. Yeah,
100%. And now he's reaching out to coaches. He's exploring YouTube, and he's beginning to understand these concepts now of like load management and being able to be reactive with his training and manage his own training. And I can't seem to explain it to him. I think that's just the
dynamic,
family dynamic.
Being close to someone, you just can't get through to them. It's like if they've seen you naked, you can't. But yeah, he's reached out to coaches. He's beginning to understand that it's not as simple as just layering a bit more work or forcing that work over time. He's doing slightly less some weeks. He's doing slightly more some weeks. He's understanding that like he doesn't fully grasp RPE, but he's using it, even though he doesn't quite understand it. He's understanding that, okay, my speed work needs to be at a higher intensity. Sometimes it will be at this pace. Sometimes it's not, but that's okay. Like it's still felt.
It's the effort that matters. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I definitely think it's a training thing as a whole, maybe not enduro itself that have just those narratives. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it would just be interesting because that would be the end stage of that discussion, is that it would apply everywhere. Like at some point you just can't just keep adding more work.
So what do you do? And then
you have to make the amount of work that you're doing a higher quality or a different style to allow you to continue to progress over time. Yeah.
Actually, an interesting thing I have been tackling is this like absolutist approach to these things of like it needs to be more work. Like why do you think it is? Why do you think we think that way? Like when obviously for us,
why do I think that, or like why do
you think
general
people?
think that way?
Yeah, not you guys specifically, but we understand that we have these things at our disposal to mold and it's flexible and we can apply it in our training. Like it's not black and white. Why do you think it's like an absolutist deal, I guess, for general population?
Well, I don't think it's just general population, because there's definitely coaches and stuff that would take this conversation and be like, well, you guys are all wrong. Like it's this, and this. And the classic one is the percentage versus RPE based stuff. But I think why people hold beliefs in what they do is because they need an answer. Like to enter something that you care about and something that you want to progress and something that you potentially attach your identity to the numbers or the objective stuff that comes with that progression. It's difficult to sit back and be like, well, a lot of this stuff actually doesn't matter. Like a lot of this stuff is so flexible. It can be so reactive. You can't hang your hat on one input. Like it is ultimately, it challenges people's belief systems to not have the answer. The same thing happens in rehab. And it bleeds into the research of rehab, but it bleeds into the research of everything, is that people are literally looking for the direct answer to why someone has back pain, where everybody knows, and whether or not you believe it to be true or whatever, but everyone knows there's so many variables that account to that. And ultimately we're now in the conversation of like dynamic systems, and the idea of like multiple inputs can influence the system. The outcome is partly objective. We can view the outcome for what it's worth, but we can also wrap a subjective sort of psychological attribution to the outcome as well. Like there's so much dynamic sort of flavor to the whole system that it's impossible to boil it down to one input, one variable, one. So people do that because they need the belief.
Greg Lehman said back when I went to his thing that the prescription, I want the prescription, the diagnosis, sorry, is not that important. It's more so what's the important part is how we're going to manage it and get you back doing what you love.
Where you currently are and where do you want to be.
But people don't like that. They want to know, well, what's wrong with my back? Is it, a facet joint? Is it this? But it's like, well, you have pain in that region, but it could be more, and that's the same with any kind of pain and whatnot. But you can actually go past that and get out of fitness, and I feel like humans are like that just in general.
Yeah, well, it's funny.
We saw it with COVID.
With anything, with everything.
There had to be, it was the government, it was this. It has to, because using COVID as an example too, so many things going on. But like the scary part is that something like that, and it could be worse next, that humans really don't have that much control over life, and that we've seen with natural disasters, things can just happen and wipe out your whole life and existence. People would rather have a reason. Someone's behind it. Someone's controlling the strings.
QAnon.
That's a little.
Trump's going to drain the swamp and fucking save us all.
I listened to Jim Jeffries.
On Theo Von?
Yes, and they're talking about the ozone
I enjoyed
layer.
that. I really enjoyed that podcast.
Feather got me on that one.
Yeah.
He's got his own podcast. I started listening to with Amos Gill. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ozone layer. Came out in the 80s, hole in the ozone layer. He goes, could you imagine if we said that shit now? He goes, everyone is very happy to accept there's a hole in the ozone layer. We go outside.
Oh, not everyone. Not everyone.
Not everyone? All right. Fucking anyway, you can... sun
For
exposure.
the most part, it's just understood.
Yeah, generally speaking, it's
my own anecdote. Sun exposure in Australia, you burn like that.
Absolutely.
You go
Yeah,
overseas
true.
and you don't burn anywhere near as
Don't
near
even
as
need
bad.
sunscreen, mate.
So, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, he was like, imagine if someone came out with that shit now, with everything, with
We've just found a hole in the ozone
they'd
layer.
be like, it's the fucker. They're shooting shit into the sky. They're fucking whatever.
It's
like,
one of the chemtrails.
they're burning. They're trying to fuck it. Whatever it may be. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting thing that I thought of. But
I know, I think people, certainty can be comforting, but the unfortunate reality is pretty much with everything, there are multiple things at play, and that sucks sometimes because it'd be nice to have a clear answer, but we don't have a clear answer. Case in point, this morning, so James George is taking up some of the responsibilities with the gym in regards to our social media, working alongside Con, just managing all that. And we're just like assessing how things are going, what's the strategies, how do we compare that to things we've done in the past, what do we want to do next, how do we work out if these things are working for us. And I think with my observations around social media and how it all works is that like many things, it's not necessarily a 1 + 1 = 2 situation. It's not, we did this and then we had said outcome, that worked. It's like, okay, we generally did these things, we had good outcomes. What is it that exactly caused those outcomes? I don't really know. Like, obviously, if nothing's working, we know something's wrong, but when things work, we don't know exactly why it worked necessarily. It's like, okay, something in there worked. When did it work? I don't know. It just overall, it worked to some degree, and that's okay. If we don't have the answer, that's all right. Like, it's just...
And those are biases of mine that I'm trying to peel back as well.
Trying to find the answer.
Trying to always have an answer. Like,
Yeah.
being
clients.
just in general. Like,
What's
I think
what's an example of that?
an example of that would definitely be deloads.
What are you trying to?
I think I myself in my training haven't done a deload in probably 2-3 months. Just been in quite a bit of a surplus with my food, so that would be something that's definitely helping me train more and train higher intensity.
Did you not tell me last night that you didn't run for 2 weeks?
That
I was about to say this. You
Would
probably
that be
haven't
considered
taken a
a deload?
structured deload, but which is a very key
Structured
point
deloads,
here.
yeah.
Life has forced you to deload, which is fine. Life has forced me to deload lately too, but this is a key point. Deloads are necessary if you are extremely rigid and diligent with your training to the point where you go 2+ months without missing a beat. And as a result, enough fatigue's accumulated to where you need to formally structure one. But as we see as coaches, people have competing demands in their life. So chances are, life will deload you when it deloads you. Not everyone needs a structured deload. It might be like, okay, cool. Remember 2-3 weeks ago, you missed a week of training because something came up. As a result, we're at the end of your block, but we don't really need to take a deload. Let's just keep going. Like,
so that's something that
thought I'd put that in.
So you have deloaded.
So you have deloaded.
I have.
You have.
Yeah.
Life has
But
deloaded.
Life
you.
forced you to deload.
the structured deload is something that I just don't believe in. Like,
But what do you mean you don't believe in it?
for the people that I work with, I don't work with any really high performing athletes that would absolutely need a deload, who are diligent, who are rigid with their training, who are relentlessly just hitting.
It's the
training
highest
hard.
priority in their life.
Yeah.
They'll skip a dinner to go and do their 4th session. The average person will be like, "No, fuck that. I'm going to the pub."
90% of the people we work with
are going to the pub.
And that's
Are
mad.
going to
That's
the
cool.
pub.
But as a result, you're probably not going to have a structured deload as often.
Yeah. And I think with some of my clients that have experienced structured deloads in the past, that is something that they would like to have in their program. And I think sometimes I can be torn now because I'm just like, you don't really need it.
It's a wasted week.
Life's going to deload you anyway. But also, they just need that reassurance that that's coming up. They need that in their program to feel good. Like, it gives them an opportunity to reset as well. I'm at a battle between those two because what do I place more significance on? Is it their perception around the deload? Do I try and change their lens or their perception around a deload? Is that my responsibility? Maybe I could do some stuff there, but ultimately they feel good, like having that deload there.
I think there's 2 things to this. One, like, we have this belief that like self-awareness is the base quality that we're trying to develop with clients and athletes. And I think it's true in life. I view it in business as well. Like just being aware of actually what's going on with yourself and your inputs and your strategies around that. That's why we favor RPE, because we want clients to actually be engaged with their awareness throughout the training process. That's why we have subjectivity in our review processes, asking clients like, what do you enjoy? What do you think's working well? Are there things you want to change? Like getting that input, like having that awareness and developing that awareness, I think is the base level of all progress long term. So part of it, I think, with clients in that situation is using when life deloads you as an awareness tool and just reflecting back and be like, last week we didn't get many but that's okay, because it means that we can now skip the next deload and actually just continue to push because we've kind of just had one. Like bringing that awareness into them, I think would be an important thing. But then the other thing is, and this is always a part of the decision when managing training variables or managing the direction, is that the psychological sort of framing, I view it as an attribution, but the psychological framing of certain things happening impacts the outcomes. So if you put a deload in, but that bookmarks a refreshment of their training attitude, it bookmarks a change in their variables, a change in their exercises, and then it means they have a bigger sort of effort in the upcoming weeks, well, then maybe the deload
is serving a purpose.
Even though it doesn't, we think it doesn't really, you don't need it, but maybe like having a refreshment of like, we're starting a new phase is a huge psychological boost to the process and is worth exploring.
Particularly if they have a training history and that's something that's always been a part of their training. Different with someone who's quote unquote a blank slate, it's all new to them, they'll probably just be happy to do whatever. But if someone has done something for a certain period of time, you could believe, do they really need that? Maybe not, but it works for them. Is it worth me stressing over the fact that they're having an easy week of training when they could train hard for that week? It's probably not. Like I think it's just... as always, like what works for the individual, especially psychologically, is important.
I think the psychological stuff is,
100%.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a case-by-case basis. It's going to be,
Because the alternative to this not leaning into the client's psychology is going top down, saying that their psychology or their worldview is wrong, challenge the narrative, and then break the trust down.
Yeah.
Which can, like, we've all fallen part of that, where it's like somebody comes to you with this idea and you're straight off the bat like, nah, that's fucking shit. Like, don't you know about, like, you don't do it aggressively, but you might just like, I say challenge the narrative. You challenge the narrative.
not worth it.
But in that process, you've challenged their belief, you've challenged the person that they've learnt that from, you've challenged their confidence in you and their trust in you, and then you input the next thing and they're like, oh, I don't really know, and then all of a sudden there's a breakdown in to challenge a narrative, that's an active decision. It's like, do I want to do this?
Hey, Timmy, you're objectively wrong. Stop making stupid suggestions. Like, no, we're not going to do that. Like, even if they are objectively stupid, it's sometimes not worth it. Like,
Not
obviously,
worth it.
like time and place. If something is like really going to cause someone harm or really lead them astray, we'll step in. It's not like we're completely hands off, but we navigate that on a case-by-case basis, and we try to, zip it when it's time to zip it. Sometimes it's, as a coach, we just shut up and let things roll, and that's fine. Like that's all part of it.
Yeah. So there's no right answer.
Yeah.
There's no answer. Once again, we're looking for the answer. What's the answer?
Exactly.
It depends. Case by case basis.
It's a case of like, I don't know. I don't know if you guys do with your coaching, but I have moments of like, I feel like I'm being stretched here and I'm being stretched there, and it's like a case of,
it's nature of the beast.
What's working best for them right now, and maybe later down the track, I'm trying to frame it differently for them to see it in a different lens, that could help them. And if I reflect on it now, is that just pushing more of your biases on them? Like, ultimately, you can't escape a bias. We're always navigating down that path, and we're probably going into too much weeds here. But
no, that's all.
I like it.
Yeah, like that's what I experience when I coach. Like, I'm being torn in two sometimes with these things of deloads, and I'll let the client run with it.
Am I moving too far away from what I believe to be true?
Yeah, I'll try and frame it differently for them as we go, but then it's like, well, actually, if they're still getting, if they're still having a good training experience here, do I really need to challenge their experience? Can I let them
some things aren't worth
continue down this path, believing what they believe?
If we define our role as a coach to help someone make progress and enjoy their training and build a good relationship with training over the long term. If we can achieve those things whilst zipping it on certain details that we don't agree with or certain things that we think aren't quote unquote ideal, that's still we can do that and still do our job. And obviously sometimes it's important for us to instill these ideas, but sometimes it's a journey. Sometimes someone has a belief that you think they would benefit from not holding as strongly, and it might just take time, and it's a process of, you know, maybe guiding them, building the trust, guiding them. Because at the end of the day, if someone really believes something, and maybe you're newer to that relationship, like who the fuck is this guy? Like, what's he telling me I'm wrong? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a process, of course.
Yeah, I think like the zoomed out framework falls within like top down, bottoms up. Top down is generally going to be more coach led decision making. It's going to be more, these are the things that are actually more objectively true. Let's move in these directions. So you fix variables, you fix decisions in a top down strategy. The inverse of that is more client-led decision-making, which is generally going to be a little bit more reactive, which is generally going to be a little bit more open. Both of those strategies can work long-term. So it's probably not a case of, as Didier was saying, is like, is this, do we need to challenge this, or maybe there's a time in the future. It's just that you as the coach can make the decision to engage with training a little bit more client-led. Yeah. You as the coach can engage with the training with less of your rules, with less of your beliefs, with less of your stuff, because it means that they engage more, which means that they're going to try more, which means that they're going to adhere longer, and they're going to actually progress longer term. So I don't even think it's a right or wrong decision. Yeah. And you might feel that you're getting pulled away from what you hold to be true, but in reality, you're probably just learning a new strategy to manage a new type of client, which is a more client-led, bottom-up, reactive approach to their inputs into the system. That's how I would frame it. For sure. Yeah, top down, bottoms up.
I'd say that I prefer the bottoms up approach.
Big bias.
Big bias. And
this may as well just be called bottoms up coaching.
I'd say it was something that and I'm sure you Dids can attest to it, is as a coach something that I'm working on, being more top down in certain situations. Because it doesn't come naturally for me. But
we need both. It's not either or.
It's a blend of both.
Understanding which strategy is going to be helpful, or what combination of said strategies is going to be necessary in the context.
And the other thing is, you can be real top down in some decisions, but be really bottoms up in others in the same process.
The same sentence.
Like you can, literally, you can set some rigid rules that have to be worked within, and then there could be some completely open-ended, like bottoms up thing. Like it's never like I need to be more top down in everything. It's really like not just client by client, but it's decision by decision. It's overall framing.
And this goes to everything in life. Like stepping out of the fitness industry. Like I definitely find myself being hesitant to think too broadly or at least trying to be hesitant to think too broadly in these big labels, because what I feel like whenever there's a binary, it just creates problems. Like, some things there are objective binaries, but a lot of the times it's just like if I'm sitting on this side of said discussion point, it's like I just need to completely take all of that side and reject everything on the other side. It's like, there's a nice medium here where we can take it case by case and, see the benefit in both strategies. Because for sure, I've felt myself over the years, after being indoctrinated by Jamie Smith on bottoms up coaching, realizing, okay, maybe there's been some points, that I needed to be a little bit more tops down. And I've felt myself probably in the last 1 to 2 years bring that in. It's like, cool. That's good. It was never, the idea was never, and obviously you pushing a lot of the bottoms up coaching. I don't think the point was ever to completely disregard
lose
tops
all
down,
your rules.
But the problem was in a training world where everything is so heavily top down, it's like you just need to start yelling a bit of bottoms up just so we can find that equilibrium. And that's the crux of it. Like neither's right or wrong. We just need the healthy balance of both.
You need a healthy balance. You need it as a coach, be able to be dynamic in how you transition between the two and identify the type of person which needs, or a situation that needs more top down or needs more bottoms up.
There is no answer. It's just you got to figure it out. You got to figure it out.
Yeah. Maybe we could do a whole potty on top down and bottoms up.
I reckon, yeah.
Maybe we just go through the whole model, go through it all.
Deconstruct these models.
We might have to wrap that up now, though, because we do have to head off. Events, Dids, quick recap of the events.
So
what have we got
coming up in October for our... This one's mainly for our gym members and clients. We have our 5RM day on October 25th. You can hit a 5 rep max of any squat, bench, dead variation. However, if you do want to come down, open up to people outside of the gym as well, just DM us. We can set you up with that. It's always a fun one. It's just literally a gym full of people hitting PBs fucking left, right, and center. So that's the first one. The second one is Push Pull Run on the 15th of October, and we have tickets available for those. So message us.
They'll be linked down below as well.
Down below, perfect. And then our novice comp is on the 22nd. So we also have the link available for that. Whether it's if you have a coach and you want to come and do it, or you're looking for coaching in the lead up to that, we can also help you out with that. So that's the next couple of months for Strength Culture.
Perfect. Lovely. If you need help with your training, first link down below. DM the boys, DM the page. We're here to help. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Ciao.